All right, today about the coordinate plane. Hopefully you remember talking about the coordinate plane when you were in 5th and 6th grade, but it's something that we haven't really talked about yet this year. And I wanted to make sure that I talked about it a little bit before you took your Math iLearn, okay? Because I have a feeling you'll probably see some coordinate planes on there. So first of all, let's talk about the parts of a coordinate plane. First of all, a coordinate plane, most people just call it a graph, okay, where you have these two lines that cross each other. Now that's called intersect. Okay? That's kind of a fancy word for just saying they cross each other. They intersect each other. And these two lines are called axis, okay? So this line that goes from left to right is called the x-axis. And this line that goes straight up and down is called the y-axis, okay? So again, x-axis goes from left to right, y-axis goes straight up and down. Where these two lines cross each other, where they intersect, that has a special name as well, and that is called the origin. Okay, so where the two axes intersect is called the origin. Now, what happens because these two lines intersect, it breaks up this graph into 4 sections, and these sections are called quadrants. Okay, and they each have a specific number that is associated with them. This quadrant right here, is quadrant 1. And for whatever reason, they use Roman numerals when naming the quadrants. So a capital I is a Roman numeral for 1. Now we're going to go counterclockwise, okay, and name the rest of our quadrants. So over here would be quadrant 2, II. Down here would be quadrant 3, I. And right here would be quadrant 4. Now 4 is an IV. Now what IV means, V is 5. And when you have a I in front of it, that means you're doing 5 minus 1, which is 4. Okay, so really ideally you name them using these Roman numerals, but as long as you know this is quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4, that is the most important thing here, okay? All right, now when you're looking at these quadrants, something that might help you, and I'm going to change colors here, is the type of points that will be in this quadrant. Now these are called ordered pairs, which we'll get into more detail in just a second. But here, all of these ordered pairs, the first number will be positive and the second number will be positive. In quadrant 2, the first number will be negative and the second number will be positive. In quadrant 3, they'll both be negative numbers. And in quadrant 4, the first number is positive and the second number is negative. And what that represents is that when you are naming, and again, we'll review this in more detail in just a second, when you're naming a point in these quadrants, for quadrant 1, you'd be going to these positives and these positive numbers here. However, in quadrant 2, you'd be using these negative numbers first and then these positive numbers. All right, so let's go ahead and look at that review of ordered pairs. So an ordered pair, okay, important, it helps you kind of tell you what it is in the name. Ordered, that means order matters, okay? The number that's listed first, it matters that it's listed first. Pair means 2. So you are going to have the point on the x-axis listed first, and then your point on the y-axis listed second. And you're going to see them separated with a comma, and it's going to have parentheses around it. So the parentheses are important, the comma is important. That's how you signify that it is an ordered pair. Now, the thing that people get messed up with the most is remembering that the x comes first. so that when you're looking down here where we're going to practice, these numbers are going to come first in your ordered pair, okay? So when you're naming an ordered pair, for instance, point A, so let's find point A, there it is, okay? First of all, what quadrant is A in? A is in quadrant 2. And you can look back at the notes that you took on your quadrants if that's helpful, okay? Quadrant 2. Now, we also put on these notes to help us that it's a negative, then a positive, all right? So when we're naming the actual point where A is located, we use the x-axis first, so the highlighted axis down here. So how many do we have to go over? We have to go over 4 to the left. That's a negative 4. So my first number is a negative 4. And then my second number is my y-axis. How many do we go up? Now, if it'd be helpful to you, I can highlight this one in pink. So you would go left 4 to the negative 4, and then you're going to go up 1, so positive 1. All right, for B, B is located in quadrant 1. And to get to B, remember we have to do our x-axis first. To get to B, we're going to go right 1. That's a positive 1. And then we're going to go up 3. So 1, 3. For C, C is located in quadrant 4, IV. To get to C, x-axis first, we would go 4. And then we're going to go down 1, 2, 3. So negative 3. Sometimes your graph isn't labeled, by the way. It's not numbered for you. So if it's not numbered for you, you can just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Or sometimes it's labeled like every other number is labeled. So you just kind of have to pay attention. Now this graph was nice. I wanted to start out with one that was labeled. Every single line was labeled, okay? All right, D. D is located in quadrant 3. And to get to D, we would need to go first to the negative 2. And then we're going to go down to the negative 3. E is located in quadrant 1. And to get to E, we would go right 4. And then we would go up 5. So 4, 5. And lastly, F. Now, what quadrant? It's not in a quadrant, okay? F is not in a quadrant. The ordered pair, that is the origin. Remember we said where they intersect is the origin. That is 0, 0. All right, let's continue our practice here. Let's now put the points on the coordinate plane. And just like the points that we just did, there is a dot, obvious dot, and the letter is labeled. So that's how we're going to want to do these, okay? So for J, we're going to do 1, negative 5. Remember, I can highlight again if it helps you. Now you could do this yourself. You could get highlighters, and if you're someone that kind of struggles, you could always do this yourself. All right. So my first number is my X. My second number is my Y. Maybe just labeling it like I just did, maybe that'll be enough to help you. All right, so we have a 1, then a negative 5. So to the 1 on the x-axis, and then down to negative 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, an obvious point, and label it J. Next up, we have negative 2, negative 3. I'm going to go ahead and highlight real quick all of my first numbers, and then all my Y values, my second number. Okay. So a negative 2. So starting at your origin, negative 2, there we are. And then we need negative 3. 1, 2, 3, right here. So an obvious point, and then label. All right, we're on to L. Negative 4, 1. So starting at your origin, going to -4, and then 1 up, 1 positive. So point, label it L. All right, this one, these usually M and N will confuse people because of the 0. So the 0 is listed first. That means we are not going left or right at all on the x-axis or yellow axis, okay? We're going to stay right in the center, and then we are going to go up to the 3. So this point is located on the y-axis. So if I asked what quadrant M is in, M is not in a quadrant. M is on the y-axis. Now for N, we're going to go over to the 2 on the x-axis right here. And then it tells us not to go up or down any. So N is going to be right here. And if I asked for the location of N, it would be on the x-axis. All right, and lastly, sometimes you don't have whole numbers. You have fractions or you have decimals, and that's okay. So on this one for O, 2.5. So we're going to go over to the 2, and 2.5 would be located in between the 2 and the 3. So right in the middle between 2 and 3. And then we're going to go up 4.5. So let's think about that. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4. This would be 5. So 4.5 would be right here. See how that would be 4.5? You can even kind of do, if it's really light, you can kind of do this. 2.5, 4.5. So this is O. All right. So now you're going to try the practice, which is on the back side of the notes worksheet. I'm going to have people in class do that practice on their own. So if you're watching this video at home, I would pause the video and try the practice. If you don't have a printer at home, then I know it's kind of difficult to practice these. So you can at least think about where you would put things. You could maybe just like pause the video a lot and then think about where I'm going to put it. That would probably be the easiest way to practice if you don't have a printer at home. All right, so our first section here is identifying the quadrant of each point. So I'm going to locate A. Here's A. This is in quadrant 1. Remember, we want to use Roman numerals for this. I'm going to make my X and Y axis a little darker here. It'll probably help us see these a little bit better. Things never copy off perfectly. All right, that looks a little bit better. All right, B. So here's B. This is quadrant 3. C. C is in quadrant 4, IV. And D is in quadrant 2. All right, so again, I would prefer you use Roman numerals, but if you have 1, 3, 4, 2, then you did at least identify the quadrant correctly. All right, the next section is plotting the point. So when we plot the point, we're just going to put the number beside it instead of having a letter. So 0, 3. Remember, the first number, the first of these numbers, those are your x-axis numbers, okay? Your x-axis numbers. So that means we're not going 0. We're going 0 left or right. And then 3 would be up 3. 1, 2, 3. Notice how on this graph, they don't have every single thing labeled. They don't have a 3 on here, so I had to count 1, 2, 3. It's not that big a deal. Label it a 5. -2, 4. So -2 on the x-axis. There it is. And then 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Label it as 6. 5, 1. 5 on the x-axis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right on the edge there. And then 1. It's okay if it's right on the edge. Graph has to end some point, right? Technically, by the way, these graphs never end. They go on forever. That's why these lines have arrows. But, you know, we only have so big on this piece of paper. Okay, -4, -3. So -4 on the x-axis, 1, 2, 3, 4. And -3 would be down 3, 1, 2, 3. So sometimes it is just easier to count like I'm counting. 3, -2, +3, 1, 2, 3. Then -2, that's down 2, 1, 2. So there's 3, -2. And -3, -1. So left 3, 1, 2, 3. -1 is down 1. And that is 10. All right, now we're moving on to actually naming the point, giving the coordinates of the point. And remember, our first number needs to be, where is it at on that x-axis? So let's find J. There it is. So if we started the origin to get to J, we'd first have to go to the -4. And then we're going to go up 1. So -4, 1. To get to K, we would first, we don't need to go anywhere on the x-axis. We're just going to go straight down. So it's going to be 0 and then straight down 2, -2. L, to get to L, we're going to first have to go left 1, 2, 3. So -3. And then we're going to go down 1, 2, 3. So -3. -3, -3. M, we're going to start off by going right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to go up 1, 2. N, here it is. We're going to go right 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4. For P, where is it? Here it is, right there. We're going to go right 1, 2, 3, 4. But then we don't need to go up or down any. So our second number is going to be a 0. R, we're going to go right 2. And then we're going to go down 1, -1. And lastly, we have S. We're going to go left 1. And we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so hopefully you felt okay with those. Your assignment, if you are in the classroom, you're going to do the assignment called Shapes on a Plane. So there's an old movie called Snakes on a Plane, like an actual airplane, and there were snakes. So I kind of did a play on words and said Shapes on a Plane. But this is going to be the quarter 4 assignment. And what it looks like is this right here. And there's no way you could actually do a Google form for this, okay? So I will, if you are in class, then I will have you hand me turn in the worksheet, just like pre-COVID days where you submit a worksheet, okay? But if you are home and doing My School Online, or maybe you are in quarantine or something's going on, then I will post an alternate assignment, okay? It will be on IXL because you can practice graphing on IXL pretty easily. If you have trouble with IXL, remember your username and password are emailed to you by IXL. But if you can't find your username and password, you can't find that email, please look for it first. Then please email me. And again, my email, jbarnes with an E @gccschools.com.